daily lesson. So if you are watching this from the members only group for FitBiz University, the elites, welcome, guys. Feel free to hang on after the next 30 minutes. We'll jump into a coaching call. If you're watching this from another channel, whether it's YouTube or one of the other groups, today we are going to be talking about how to reduce churn at your gym, right? And so churn is how many members are leaving each month in relation to how many members you have, right? So as an example, if you have 100 members and 5 of them leave, you have a 5% churn, for that month, meaning that you have a 95% retention rate, okay? And so for most gyms, your growth is a direct correlation between how many new members you sign up and how many members leave, right? Unless you're playing around with new pricing and things like that, right? And so one of the goals that, as a gym owner, you really want to strive to accomplish is to reduce your churn as low as you possibly can. Now, you're never going to get a 0% churn on a regular basis because it's a service business and people just leave, right? But there are things you absolutely can do to reduce it, right? There's strategy and tactics, guys. When it comes to anything in business, there's strategy, right, which is what is the plan, right? And then there's tactics, which are how are we going to accomplish the plan, and how well you execute those tactics will largely determine if that strategy is effective or not, right? So if you execute your tactics very, very well, and it still doesn't solve your problem, then you probably don't have a very good strategy, right? And so today we're going to be talking about both of those things, and then along with, we'll finish up by how to track your churn if you don't know how to track churn, because whatever whatever you can track, you likely can improve, right? And so if you don't know what it is, it's going to be even harder to make meaningful improvements because you have nothing to base it off of. You have no numbers to know if whatever you're attempting to do is effective or not, right? So we need to track it. I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, let's talk about churn. An industry average for micro gyms, right? I'm not talking about big box gyms, or I'm talking about micro gyms, is about 10%, okay? Meaning that if you have a gym of 100 people, you could expect 10 of them to leave, right, per month. So over the course of the month, or the year, after 10 months, everybody would be gone, right? But they're not going to be gone. Some stay longer, some churn out faster. Our goal is to replace the people that we lose with more people, right? And so maybe you sign up 12 and 10 left, and you're +2, right? And it's very slow growth, but it's growth. Okay. Now imagine if you still signed up those 12, but you only lost 5, right? Well, now you're +7. That's a little bit faster growth. Okay. So how do we get there? Okay. Well, the first thing that I'd like to preface by saying is that in most micro gyms, large group training type facilities, churn over the past, 10 years, but largely over the past 5 years, let's say from 2018 to 2023 or 2019 to 2024, churn has really went up for a lot of gyms. And the reason being is that the model itself is becoming commoditized, meaning that people can go, it is more of a commodity, right? People can go to other places and receive the same service for a lower rate, right? When I opened my gym in 2012, man, there was no freaking boot camp gyms in my area doing one-on-one boot camps, nutrition, this kind of stuff, weigh-ins and holding people accountable. I can't tell you how many times somebody would walk into the gym and be like, "Where's all the equipment?" And I'm like, "You are the equipment," right? And so, very, very new concept in my area. But man, fast forward to now, oh my gosh, Lifetime Fitness down the road they're offering unlimited classes for freaking $79 a month. You have Orange Theory down the road. You have Fit Body Boot Camps. You have all of these different, service large group gyms that are offering similar services to what my gym originally was that are at half the price point, right? And so as much as you can try to combat that, at the end of the day, like consumers have always been making decisions based on price. It's just a fundamental, way that we do business. And so if you can't necessarily compete on price, right, because of the commoditization of, things that used to be much more scarce, right, and more rare for your town, then you have to compete in a different, a different way, right? It's a big part of what I teach is how to compete in a different way. However, let's talk about how that affects your churn. There's just more options. There's just more options if you stick to that model, right? So if customers have more options, that creates more competition, and that means that while you do have the ability to bring on more people, it's easier to lose people to those competitors, right? And so your churn will naturally go up if you haven't pivoted your model and you're still running large group only, right? It will go up, right? You won't be able to beat out the commoditization of the marketplace, and so I say that to to let you know that some of the things that you maybe were doing in 2017, 2018 to reduce churn aren't necessarily going to be as effective today, right? And so that's why I think that there's a new way to reduce churn that is not based on some of the principles that maybe you used, or maybe in 2017, 2018, even 2019, you didn't have to do much. You didn't have to do much to reduce your churn. You just had maybe you were one of a few gyms in town that were even offering the types of services like CrossFit or large group or, semi-private or whatever, right? So you didn't, because there was no alternatives, right, for your customers to go to. So if they liked that kind of training, they liked group training, you basically just didn't have to piss them off. You just didn't have to, mess something up, and they'll stay. And then all of a sudden, the last couple of years, you're like, man, it's been really tough. Freaking thinking it's still COVID. It's not COVID, man. That was almost 4 years ago. And so, it's not that, right? It's the industry has evolved, right? And so, there are more options, and you can't get away with being the only person or one of few people in town. So you do have to do things to reduce your churn. So let's talk about this, guys. How do we lose less members each month than we are signing up, or how do we get to sub 10%? Old methods, right? Tell me if this sounds familiar. You'll reach out to all of your members on somewhat of a regular basis to check in with them. Okay, you will track attendance. And if anybody is not coming in, you'll reach out with a, hey, haven't seen you lately. You will apply 30-day notices to any cancellations or freezes or whatever to deter people, or put some kind of language in your contract to deter people from quitting. You will do personalized touches, whether it's like handwritten cards or send them a birthday gift or a shout out or whatever, right? You will host events, for members and invite everybody into your gym and, try to make sure that you have this really cool community and culture and all of that. Tell me do those things sound familiar, right? Likely, yes, they do. And they will still work marginally. But I think that the return that you'll get on your investment of time, all of those things are time. Some money involved if you're running events or you're spending money on like cards or something like that. But mostly it's time. The return you'll get on that time is not equivalent to the amount of new members you could acquire with that same amount of time. So you're getting diminished returns on that time because those methods aren't necessarily effective to the degree that they used to be, right? Customers have come to expect that stuff, right? And so, my philosophy on it, and I've seen this work across the hundreds of gyms, guys, is we need to fundamentally change the relationship that we have between the gym and the customer, right? And so what I mean by that is if if I were to talk to your, let's say I did a poll with your customers at your gym, right? Let's say there's 100 of them, right? I sent out an anonymous poll, right? And I said, hey, you know, which category would you place your gym in out of these options? Number one is, you know, a fitness membership, right? I go there, like I pay them for my fitness membership. Number two would be, you know, I pay them for the community, right? Number three would be, let's just say I've invested in a coaching program. I work with a coach or a trainer there, right? And number four is, you know, it's a you know, access to equipment, right? That I have to go in and like use, right? So let's say there's those four buckets, okay? Three of those four are are going to be problematic when it comes to how the customer views their relationship with the business, right? Now, if you're in the bucket of fitness membership or equipment rental or community, that's where the alternatives exist, right? And you're in a transactional, logical relationship. You fit into the expense category in their mind, right? So if money gets tight, if a competitor opens down the road, you know, whatever, it's literally like the value proposition is I'm paying this amount for my fitness membership. I'm paying this amount to have access to this equipment to use and work out. I'm paying this amount to be part of this community that's fun to exercise with. You know, very transactional, very logical. Not much emotion there, even though it if it feels like it. If there really was a lot of emotion there, they wouldn't place it in one of those buckets, right? What I think reduces churn is getting into that third bucket, right? I go to this gym because I've invested in a coach that I work with to solve a problem, right? I That is an emotional connection. That's an emotional relationship, right? And if you can find a way to put a program like that in your gym or change your model or whatever it is, it doesn't mean that you do one-on-one training. It doesn't mean that you do semi-private training. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that people feel like they have a coach when they walk into your gym, right? They feel like they have a guide to help them on this journey. And when you can establish something like that, well, now logical decisions, those go out the window, right? This is all emotion here, right? And quitting, you know, quitting the gym, which is churn, man, that feels like they're going to be breaking up with somebody, with this relationship, with this coach, right? And that's scarier than submitting a freaking, you know, cancellation form or emailing somebody. They got to go in and they got to talk to their coach like, hey, I'm quitting this journey that we've been on together, right? Or hey, I'm you know, I know that I've lost 40 pounds with you, and I've told you everything, you know. Um, I've told you stuff I haven't even told my sister. Like we have this and if you've been a trainer or a coach, you know this is true. They're not going to come up to you and be like, "Hey, the gym down the road's $10, you know, per session cheaper." It's just not going to happen, right? And that's what reduces churn. Guys, get rid of the systems, get rid of the spreadsheets, get rid of the reach outs, get rid of all that shit, right? And create real relationships between you and each member at your gym. If you don't know how to do it, then it's going to be harder and harder for you to survive in the changing landscape of the industry. Because in my opinion, you know, and again, this is just my opinion. Like I could be totally wrong, but I see patterns and I work with a ton of gyms and I can see the similarities that each one of them are coming into the program and the problems they're facing, right? And churn and the model that they used to use that works really well is not working anymore, right? Because people want either the cheapest solution, right, or they want the best. There's no strategic advantage of being second cheapest in the marketplace, right? Or second best, really, And so, I think for small gyms like us, it's easier to become the best. First, you just say it. We have the best transformation program that exists in the world. And then you work your ass off until that becomes a reality, right? You're not going to be the cheapest, period. You're not going to sell $10 a month. Don't even try. Why race to the bottom and be third, fourth cheapest? Meanwhile, there's fucking no margin left over for you. You're working 80 hours a week. It's ridiculous. Don't do it. Figure out how you can become the best. Make the, the hard changes, whether you need to invest in learning stuff or you need to invest in better team people in your team that care about the growth of the business, not just clock in, do a workout, clock out, see you later. Teach a class, see you later, right? And so if you can somehow create a relationship with each person that signs up, then I think that is what you need to do to keep churn down, because then it doesn't matter. The commoditization doesn't play a role, right? Because it's a relationship, right? It's an emotional decision to stay, to sign up and to stay. It's an emotional decision, not a logical one, not a transactional one, right? And so that's what we need to do. And you don't need to spend any time or money on having a retention system or a retention manager or a retention anything, because the relationship does it for you, right? And it's very streamlined. Now you got to get the right people who care, right? Who care about people, achieving success and their results. But that's a whole different topic if you have a whole bunch of coaches or trainers that don't even care, right? But my point is that this is the way, right? This is how you can, and you don't have to change your model. Like at FitBiz University, we bolt this model onto existing gyms, right? As a higher ticket coaching program, and you utilize the existing resources that the gym already has, right? Now, of course, there's the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it, and I did it the wrong way at first and spent a lot of time and money, but eventually learned the right way, right? And so that's the overarching idea here is, if you were looking for a top 5 things that you can tactically do to reduce churn, that it doesn't exist, right? There's a couple things, exit interviews and things like that we teach, but it's not going to be a system like it used to be, or that like you think it is. That stuff doesn't work, guys. It used to when there was less options for a consumer to go to, so you were over delivering. By doing those things, you are spending a lot of time, sometimes money. You're not over delivering anymore, right? You can keep trying, but you need to change when the industry changes. Okay. And so let me show you how to track this too, because when you track things, you will, without even knowing it, try to improve those numbers month over month, because people just, especially entrepreneurs, just feel uncomfortable when you see things getting worse, and that causes you to take action. And the action that you will take will, hopefully improve those numbers. Now, when it comes to like establishing that relationship, guys, there's small measures you can take, there's big measures you can take, and there's everything in between, right? Maybe you just start off with some small measures, right, to make people feel like they have more of a relationship in the way that they come to your gym and utilize what you're doing. There's also big measures you can take by pivoting your model and significantly changing the way that you do things. I think it really comes down to opportunity cost. Like, what do you have to lose? I mean, freaking, if you're losing money every month, I mean, how much longer are you going to lose money for? How much longer can you lose money for? So at that point, like, you don't have much to lose. You might as well pivot the model, right? Now, if you're doing really well and you're making $10,000 to $20,000 a month in profit, that's different. You might start to see churn creeping up, right? but I wouldn't necessarily pivot the entire model because you don't want to lose what you've already worked really hard for. That's obviously working. You want to just make small incremental improvements to get, to stabilize the business, right? So, anyways, let me show you how I track this stuff, and maybe it'll help you. So, I'm going to share my screen. Here we are. I'm going to log into, whoops. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. Hold on. I'm going to log into FitBiz University. And we are going to go to, where do we want to go? We want to go to the scale building. Okay. And we're going to go into right here, the master operating sheets. If you're a FitBiz University student, you can follow along. If you're not, you can probably maybe create something similar to this. But I'm going to click on the master operating sheets. These are sheets that run the whole gym, But besides the software like Lead Center, these are sheets that run the 5 core functions of the gym. And so, each area is owned by a different team member. Well, unless you don't have a team, then the gym owner does all of this. But eventually, when you have a team, the gym owner just views these things to be able to make decisions. But I'm going to scroll over to right here, active. No, not active clients. Give me a second here. Here we go. Members added and lost. Let's zoom this out a little bit. Okay, so I'm just zoomed out a little bit, but you can see here, and this is one of the areas that I see a lot of gym owners, making a mistake in, is they're only tracking the members that are lost when somebody cancels. But there's more ways that you lose a member than just cancellations, right? So as an example, you have on the left-hand side, clients canceled. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Their name, their date, and then the reason that they canceled, right? Okay, then you have forced exits. What's a forced exit? Well, that is somebody who stopped paying you, right? And their card is just declining and they're not freaking reaching out. They're not responding to you. They're not updating their card. At some point, you just have to exit them out. That's what this is. Then you have non-renewals. Maybe somebody bought, I don't know, 6 months worth of personal training or boot camps or whatever, and they just don't renew, right? That has to be tracked as churn because at one point they're being tracked as an active member, right? And then when they don't renew, they're no longer an active member, right? So they have to be tracked as churned. And then we have the last category, which is not returning from a hold. How many times have we had somebody go on a membership hold, right? Maybe they're going out of town for a month or to a different country, or they are injured and they need time to heal or whatever, right? People go on hold and I track them right over here, memberships on hold. And the way I do this is they have to give a 30, 60, or 90-day period, and then we auto rebill, right? So it's a form they fill out. They pick 30, 60, or 90 days, right? They get one of these per year, and we write down the date requested, the hold length, the reason, and then the date that it resumes. Now, on that resume date, if it fails, right, then they are churned out. I mean, we'll try to reach out to them, but how many times have you had people that went on a hold, right, and then they just never, they never came back? It sucks, right? And so at our gym, what we do is they give a 30-day notice, so we still take that next payment, right, meaning that they have 30 days worth of services that they've already paid for, which makes them want to come back because they've already paid for it, right? They'd have to throw that away. Okay, so there's a little pro tip. But say they still don't come back. Now, between these 4 categories, that's how many people that churned out, right? And so we have January, and then on the right-hand side of this, we have the new members that we added that month, okay? Right, so between, what you want to do is beat out new members added, versus all the members that churned out. And you can see we're tracking attrition here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. But we're tracking attrition here month over month. So let's say you have 200 members at the beginning of the month, right, in January, you had 8 new people sign up, you had 6 people leave, automatically you have 202 starting the month of February, right? And so when you look at these 6 cancellations, you should be able to go right back to here and see why they canceled. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And so it should add up, right? And you know exactly why these people canceled, and you have your 8 signups, right? But we know that we have a 3% churn, meaning that 6 cancels out of 200. That only represents 3% of your membership base. That's pretty good. Okay, and so as you now this is all automated for us, where it auto populates, but you don't have to do that, right? And what are we tracking below? Well, we're tracking MRR churn as well, which is monthly recurring revenue churn. So let's say that you add a new service, a relationship-based service to your business, right? Those people are likely going to be paying more, right? And so if they're paying more, let's say you lost, let's say we flip these numbers. You lost 8 people and you only signed up 6 and you're like, that was a shitty month. But what if the people that you signed up were paying double the amount of the people that you lost? That's why we track it down here, because your recurring revenue might have even went up. Even though you lost more members than you gained, the members that you gained are paying more. So you still have a good indicator, right? And so this would be a negative churn, right? A net negative churn, which is great to have, okay? And so we have goals. We want user churn to be 5% or lower, or we want our monthly recurring revenue to be a negative. A negative is a positive, and churn is inherently a negative, right? And so a negative churn would be a positive thing. So the higher the negative percentage, the better. And our goal is minus 3%, okay? Because we went up. Now, to get your recurring revenue, any CRM should be able to give you these numbers, right? Mind, Body, Zen Planner, like how much money is due to be processed this month, right? Put that number in here. Then February, how much money is due to be processed this month? Put that number in here. This is how you track churn, and this is what you want to improve, right? So it's a very simple system. It doesn't need to be complex, guys. There's other sheets in here that will help you. It'll help you make all of this stuff easier. But this is the main thing that we want to get across. Is I'm gonna go back to this mode. Is being able to know what your numbers are and then make those improvements to the business itself by creating a better relationship with each member that's coming in. I think that's the key for micro gyms, right? This is not what I would do if I owned a big box gym, right? But I think ultimately what you're going to end up finding is that there's 2 types of gyms that end up surviving the changing landscape of, the fitness industry. It's going to be the gyms that can offer the cheapest service, Planet Fitness and those type of gyms, and the gyms for the best. Because the people that want the best of things, the Mercedes, all of these things, they're not affected by economic downturns. They're not affected by, and it doesn't mean they're the richest, right? It means that they're willing to invest in their health, period. And you don't have to make a lot of money to prioritize your health really high, right? And so those people that are looking for the best for themselves, right? Whether it's because they're serious about their medical health, whether it's because they love how it makes them feel in clothes, whatever their reasons are, they're willing to make that investment in themselves, right? There's those kind of people, that market, and then there's the people that are the cheapest, right? They don't prioritize it. Maybe they get a membership at Planet Fitness, they don't even go, right? I think those are going to emerge as the 2 avatars for the gym space and this no man's land, this middle ground, right? Where people are paying $100 to $200 a month, and they kind of get this like workout with some coaching, but not a lot. Like I think that's gonna go away, right? Because it's just cheaper to get that same version of that at a bigger place, right? So we have to carve out ourselves as being the best, my opinion. So, anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'm off, jumping on the group coaching call now. And if you are watching this from a different, channel that's not the members group, we'll be back with more additional stuff to help out gym owners, right? So do what you can, strategy and tactics, execute, and watch the gym grow. See you guys.